we now know today, this is wrong. This is bad. The temporal lobes are not even developed in a 9-year-old. This is evil, and if Muhammad is the pattern of conduct,
the Quran gives an age of marriage.
This is horrible. Beautiful. We are torturing these girls.
That age of marriage is when you reach puberty, essence.
That doesn't change anything I'm saying, though.
No,
a 9-year-old is always a child.
Hold on.
Always a child.
There was no critique of this specific marriage of Muhammad ﷺ prior to the 19th century.
But did Muhammad consummate the marriage at 9? Did he consummate the marriage at 9?
Does 9 automatically necessitate a child?
Yes. Did he consummate the marriage at 9?
You still haven't proven that.
Yeah, there is no. What Muhammad did was evil. He's not a good moral example. He should be thrown out because he's actually causing all sorts of harm.
What about
We definitely got to talk about this. This has to be one of the most disgusting but revealing debates on Christianity versus Islam. And it goes to show you to what extent, which is craziness, that you have to go to defend a lot of aspects in Islam. You know, up until maybe recent decades, a lot of stuff about Islam wasn't as common of a knowledge as it is now. Like their prophet Muhammad marrying a 6-year-old and then 3 years later consummating their marriage when she was 9. That's right, when she was 9. But now with internet, social media, YouTube, a lot of people are catching on just what it is that Islam teaches. And the question often comes up, does Islam bear better fruit than Christianity? Does Islam produce a better society than Christianity? And one way to determine this is just look at Muslim countries, Muslim nations versus majority Christian nations. And that's exactly what they're debating in this video. But if this is something that you just haven't been aware of, you probably haven't been paying attention to other people's religions, and I don't blame you. But now we're in 2026, Islam has been on the rise, and it's time to pay attention. So with that, let's get straight into the video. So this debate is on Brian Davila's channel, The Way, and it's with Mike Jones from the Inspiring Philosophy channel. That's Mike Jones on the right. He's the Christian apologetic, and he's real knowledgeable on Christianity and just a lot of the historical context of Christianity. He's also knowledgeable on Islam, and he's debating for Muslims.
Christianity better for society than Islam?
I obviously say yes. And when we assert that, we have to, I'm hoping today we can touch on several topics, because there are several things to look at when we're looking at these different religions and knowing which is going to produce better results. And that's the key here, which is going to produce better results. So whole well-rounded thing here. So we're not talking about which we think is more moral. We're not talking about which we think is true. We're talking about which religion is going to produce better societies. And in terms of several metrics, Christianity just outperforms Islam on many, many, many important things. So I will start with 3. I'm hoping to get to more because there's a bunch of things. So I would say, first of all, Islam allows and promotes child marriage. That is extremely bad for society. That leads to harm done to girls, harm to their offspring, which leads to inferior societies. Islam also allows cousin marriage. Christianity, because of our ecclesiology, has gotten rid of cousin marriage. So that means that we have produced better societies because more cousin marriage leads to lower IQ, more birth defects, and actually less economic prosperity. And the third thing I'll bring up is actually the practice of polygyny. Islam does allow polygyny, but polygyny actually deteriorates society. If you don't know, polygyny is, specifically, it's a form of polygamy where it's one man and multiple women. So polygamy can be one woman, several men, but polygyny is one man, several women. So those 3 things are 3 ways in which that Christianity has done away with through trial and error, through understanding of the natural world, through understanding of how we operate as a society, which has produced far better results. So, dive in.
Who wants to begin? Okay, yeah, so when it comes to the 3 critiques, I think obviously this needs some time to dissect. It's very general. There's a lot of data that we need to process. But to begin, what we're trying to compare is obviously what we're establishing is that we have Islam, we have Christianity. If implemented in society, which one yields the better results, right? In terms of moral values that we can both agree upon, right? Now, when it comes to the first one, you said, not only did you say that when we have Muslims that would practice child marriage, you specifically said that Islam allows it. So I want to really focus on that. Where did you get the understanding from that Islam allows child marriage, given the fact that the Messenger, peace and blessing upon him, explicitly says in an authentic narration, لا ضرر ولا ضرار, no harm, no reciprocating harm. So the Messenger already explicates and says that when it comes to any relationship, if there is harm involved, it's going to be impermissible. So how do you get around that? Now, if you're going to argue that a more fundamentalist approach of the Quran and the Sunnah would allow for this, rather than a traditional approach, that's a different argument, but you specifically said that Islam allows for it. So what would be the evidence for that?
So notice how he said, their prophet says if the relationship involves harm, right? Like it reciprocates harm back and forth, then that's impermissible. But he doesn't say that being with the child is impermissible, right? He's just saying if you're in a relationship and the relationship is harmful, it's impermissible. But you can see how that can be taken out of context or can be interpreted many ways, right?
Right. So yeah, let's start with that. So with regarding the harm principle to start, that's obviously interpreted differently because, for example, Sahih al-Bukhari allows for the killing of apostates, but that's going to harm them, but you're not going to throw that out. You're going to allow self-defense wars in Islam, but that's going to cause harm to invaders, so that's obviously going to be interpreted differently. The two main ways we know that Islam allows and promotes child marriage is with the Quran says that Muhammad is the pattern of conduct, but he married Aisha when she was 6 and consummated the marriage when she was 9. That is a child. There's no biological way that could not be a child. Therefore, it allows child marriage. And then, of course, Surah 65:4, which does allow girls.
Beautiful. Do you guys want to jump in or should I continue?
He said beautiful.
Yeah, you were shaking your head. What did you want to say?
Well, I mean, I have many things to say. First of all, Islam does not in any way, shape, fashion, or form support any idea of pedophilia or underage marriage. Islam does not support anything like that at all. The Quran gives an age of marriage. It is very clear. It gives something called an age of marriage. And that age of marriage is when you reach puberty, in essence. Okay.
Puberty. So puberty is when you're mature. Has a 9-year-old ever completed puberty?
Sure.
Really? According to what?
Sure. I mean, this is life. These are things that happen.
Yeah, when you look at, for example, the
I mean, you heard that right there, right? So he said, pretty much saying you can't marry until a girl has reached puberty, right? And Mike asks him, is 9 years old? Has a girl completed puberty and 9 years old? And he says, sure. So you can marry a 9-year-old, right? And this is just the beginning. It's going to get crazier than this. But I just want you to see to what extent you have to go for them to defend their prophet.
like text that he quoted, Bukhari himself has a narration where Aisha radiallahu anha refers to herself as a woman. Right? So if you wanna like internally critique our sources regarding what it says, regarding when the marriage happens.
You say internal or external?
Internal.
I'm not. This is external critique. This is definitely external critique.
How do you come to conclude that the marriage was at 6 and 9?
Because that's what your sources teach.
Beautiful.
But then you're also saying she's not a child, and I'm saying that's just incompatible with reality.
Okay,
There
I
is
see.
no such thing as a 9-year-old woman. The hips on a girl do not develop until the ages of 15 or 17. Puberty is not complete. There is no possible world where it's biologically the case a 9-year-old could be anything but a child.
Okay. Would you say that in order to be able to conceive and bear children, etc., you would have to have gone through some of the stages of puberty?
You would have to go through all the stages of puberty. So, for
Okay,
example,
good.
there was a cross-sectional study done that actually showed that girls that were 15 and under had 4 times higher the rate of death in childbirth.
Okay, so you said that it's never happened where this was the case, right?
There's no case where a 9-year-old could have completed puberty, no.
Okay, but hold on 1 second. I'm saying for somebody to get pregnant, they would have had to have gone through all the stages, correct?
No, they have to go through at least standard stage 4 because at the end of standard stage 4
Would
is when
you
they have
consider
puberty.
that person to be pubescent or prepubescent?
Have they had their first period?
I'm saying they got pregnant, so they would have already.
If they
had their
got
period.
pregnant, then they're post-pubescent. Yes.
Good. So there's an example. I don't know if you know who it is. Her name is Lena Medina. She was 5 years old when she first got pregnant. Obviously, we don't agree with the means that she got pregnant by.
Then
but
why
it's to
bring her
show
up?
that it is the case that this is something that could still happen.
Okay,
right?
I got a
And
question
this is
about
something
that.
that happened more
I had a
moderately.
question. So you said
I'm sorry, man. I gotta stop it again. Like this is just sad. And this is coming from a woman, which makes it worse. So she found the earliest example of a girl getting pregnant and saying, well, it's not that I agree that she got pregnant at 5 years old, but it's possible, right? And she's trying to justify if they can get pregnant, that means they're completed the stages of puberty. So therefore, that's a woman, right? I mean, that if you break it down, that's obviously what they're saying, right? So they're trying to find these examples to justify their prophet being with a 9-year-old, saying, well, it's something that could happen, right? If a girl's real young and she's went through puberty, then she can get pregnant. So, you know, is that a woman? Is that not a woman? I mean, this is literally where we're at right now. This is what they're arguing right now. Think about this.
If they have their period, they're a woman, they're an adult, they're post-pubescent. Was that 5-year-old an adult?
Yeah, so insofar as what I asked you, I was asking you in regards to what your criteria is that you're establishing. Right now, I don't think there is a criteria that you're actually giving in regards to what is considered to be a child, what is considered to be an adult.
I'll give it.
So,
I'll give it.
Okay.
You have
Not
to
9.
complete puberty. That is not completed till 15 to 17. That's why we as a society, we assign adulthood to the age of 18. Anything under 18 is a child. That 5-year-old is not a woman. She's a child. She should not be married off.
Okay.
So how do you respond to the argument from natural law, which you see that, for example, Paul appeals to within Romans and Corinthians, that we can look at nature to be able to come to reason, and we see that there was no critique of this specific marriage of Muhammad والسلام, prior to the 19th century, which means that nobody prior to the 19th century made a critique, although he was criticized for other things, right? Other critics have made other points regarding it, but nobody made it regarding the marriage between him and Aisha radiallahu anha. So if you conclude that we both agree on the standard of natural law and come into reason through nature and what God has instilled in us through who we are as human beings, and would agree that we would expect that if it was the case that it was wholly immoral during that time, how come we don't have that critique part of the 19th century?
I got where you're coming from. Okay, so here's the first problem. Practically, a lot of the hadith were not known in the Western world. So that's the first problem. The second thing is Muhammad is supposed to be the pattern of conduct for Muslims, for people in all times. And he's supposed to be getting divine revelation from God. Yet he's a girl. That's evil. That's setting a bad
we don't
example for
want that.
humanity. And this doesn't matter. All this shows at the end of the day is Muhammad was a product of the corrupt, backwards culture of his time. We now have the scientific evidence to know that is wrong, and it should never have been prescribed by some sort of apparently omniscient deity. Apparently.
Right, so what your response is that actually the reason why we don't see that critique is because there is no access to the ahadith at that point. First of all, that's not even true.
I didn't say that. I said that practically. I said there's a pragmatic aspect.
Like on a mass scale, right?
Yeah, on a mass scale.
However, we know that there is a lot of critiques that were raised against Muhammad والسلام. And amongst those critiques, none of them were regarding the marriage. So the argument will still follow. Why? Because we do have the critiques, meaning that people have access to the Quran, people have access to the Sunnah, such as John of Chrysostom, for example, who critiques Muhammad والسلام in his writings. Yeah, we don't find a critique about child marriage, right? So we still see that you saying that it wasn't widely accessible is irrelevant. Why? Because you have a big sample data where there's a lot of critiques regarding it and not a single one part in the 19th century.
So let's go on that. So we're conflating two things. The natural with what, as Immanuel Kant said, out of the crooked timber of humanity, nothing straight has ever grown. I agree. There were plenty of humans in the past that believed bad, corrupt, wrong things. They're not the standard. Like the Quran says, Muhammad. Hold on, let me finish. I'll let you finish. They're not the standard. They're not getting their information from omnipotent God. We now know today, this is wrong. This is bad. The temporal lobes are not even developed in a 9-year-old to properly communicate or express or understand activity. So if you're messing her up mentally. Not only can you all these physical problems, it's also mentally bad. It's socially bad. This is not good for anyone. We know that now. So Islam is allowing this. You guys are kind of defending it, which I'm shocked. It's child marriage. We should just reject everyone out here should be outright, yes, child marriage is wrong. It should be abolished around the world.
We literally agree. We literally, before we began,
I mean, it's obviously he's getting emotional, but how could you not, right? How could you not when, you know, what he's saying, it just makes common sense, right? 9 years old is a child. 5 years old. Why even bring up an example of a 5-year-old? Like how are you going to justify that at all and say, well, a 5-year-old can get pregnant and she's trying to make a point, but you're using a 5-year-old, right? It's crazy. And you could see how he's just getting real, you know, agitated. And I mean, that's how I felt when I was watching this. It's just unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And they're going through every detail they can to find some type of justification for this, right? And exactly what Mike said, he said, Muhammad is supposed to be the standard, right? That's who they follow. They follow Muhammad and his lifestyle. He's supposed to have set the standard. He's supposed to be their, you know, their way of lifestyle and how they should live, right? And we follow Jesus, right? We follow Jesus. We want to be more like Jesus. right? And what does Jesus teach? Look at the teachings and the lifestyle that Jesus left, right? He left the good lifestyle, sinless, and compare that to Muhammad, who married a 6-year-old and then later consummated the marriage at 9 years old. You can't compare the two. It's not even in the same. It's crazy. It's just crazy.
Clarify that in Islam, we don't believe there's something known as child marriage, right? We already clarified that.
So,
Now,
but I said child under the age of 18. Do you agree a child is under the age of 18?
No,
Right. Again.
that's subjective.
Okay,
Right,
then we don't.
so now we
Then you don't
switched.
think.
He's saying we don't agree with child marriage. I already told you that, but they're not agreeing on what a child is, right? If you don't think 9 years old is a child, then you can say we don't agree with child marriage, but we think a 9-year-old is a woman. So you gotta, what's a child? Can we agree that 9 years old is a child? Can we at least agree on that? They can't agree to that. If they agree that 9 years old is a child, they have to say Muhammad consummated with a 9-year-old, with a child. And they're not going to do it. They're not going to do it.
It should be
Real quick, but hold on, you switched it because a second ago you said that someone who's an adult is someone that completed puberty and that could have between 15 and 17. Now all of a sudden you're saying under 18. So I'm very confused on which time
Sure,
you want.
let me clarify.
Let me finish. Now, regarding Islam, our stance is very simple. Islam is going to be dependent upon the circumstances of the individuals. Meaning, if it was the case that at a specific point in time, it wouldn't entail physical or mental harm, and someone would have been post-pubescent and fully mature, then the marriage can be done, right? However, if it is going to entail, such as today, and this is the people according to Peter D. Glockman, when he mentioned this, if it is going to entail harm today, meaning that people can attain pubescence, but they don't attain monarchy, right? It is going to be the case that today would entail harm, therefore would not be allowed Islamically. It's very simple. Now, regarding your point regarding how, we know that there's humans around the world that have justified bad things happening in society. Well, the thing is, we're talking about a universal aspect, meaning that all humans, everyone who's critiquing Muhammad, none of them recognize this something that's inherently abhorrent.
Well, hold up. Now I gotta address. You've been going for a while. Let me address all these points. Finish up. You
Right.
get 20
now,
seconds.
Paul is the one that appeals to natural law. Obviously, we know that when it comes to natural law, when it comes to knowing these things that are known by disposition, they are known prior to revelation, right? So if it is the case that they're known prior to revelation, we'd expect at least someone to make that critique.
Okay, now I'm going to respond. You've talked for a while. I'm going to go on for a couple minutes here.
Yeah,
So
that's
first of all, not everyone around the world had access to the Hadith. Okay, there's a problem here. It's not like we had a big global community and all voted, I think Muhammad was bad. This happened in 1857. No, did not happen. So this is, you're appealing to something that just did not happen. So let's go back to me trying to tell you what a child is here. Let's start with this because we need to get over this, okay?
Yes.
So
agreed on that.
no puberty is complete between the ages of 15 or 17. We can't, as a society, constantly be going around checking hip development, Tanner stage 5 development. That is impractical. So we just assign adulthood to the age of 18. That's still far better than 9. That's the problem right there. Now, if you want to talk to what ancient people did, we can talk about that. So Michael Satlow, talking about the ancient Jews in Palestine, said they were marrying girls on average between the ages of mid-teens to early 20s. Amram Troper says late teens to early 20s. Brent Shaw in the Roman Empire, he says late teens to early 20s, so does Keith Hopkins. Then you get to the Middle Ages. Kim Phillips in her book Medieval Maiden says again, yeah, that's the thing. So it was not a normal practice to be marrying a 6-year-old, let alone. This is evil, and if Muhammad is the pattern of conduct, that's setting a bad example. That's going to lead to all sorts of harm, as it has around the world. UNICEF reports high levels of child marriage in North Africa, in the Middle East. This is horrible. We are torturing these girls. Why would we not want to reject that and say, yes, child marriage should be outlawed around the world. No one should be getting married around the ages of under the ages of 18. And yes, if you're going to bring up random U.S. states that allow it, I condemn them as well.
It's crazy. I mean, it's crazy, man. It's just to hear these 4 individuals try and justify this. You know, it just blows my mind. And this video is probably going to go long. I can't skip anything. You know, every bit of this is important, right? And we're not going to make it through the whole video, but I mean, it's just this part of the video is just so important.
Right, Christianity versus Islam, which one's better for society? So what he's saying to you in regards to Paul appealing to natural law, etc., that's going to be the criteria that we're going by here, right? We're going by Christianity versus Islam. Islam itself doesn't give a particular age; it gives a criteria. Christianity
And I
does.
say that's bad.
1 second.
I say that's bad.
Christianity also does the same thing. It doesn't give a particular age. Okay. I think you appeal sometimes to Ezekiel 16. There's also the passage in 1 Corinthians 7, right? Neither of those two gives an age. They only give a physical or yeah. So
Let me-
it's only
let
a
me address
physical,
that. Let me
physical-
address that.
I'm not done.
Okay, finish up. I want to address the passages you brought up.
Okay, so I'm not appealing to the passages in particular, by the way. But my point being is that in you saying there's a particular age that we have to go by, etc., well, that age is not something that's going to hold up in regards to society for every single society. As he quoted for you from Peter D. Gluckman's paper, menarche and mental maturity is something which used to be in line at some point, and now what we find is a fluctuation between the two of them, whereby in today's society, we don't find them being the same. They're going to be vastly different.
Right.
Go ahead.
I wonder how she would feel at 9 years old being forced to marry somebody, even at 15 years old, right? Even if when she was 15, being forced to marry this 50-year-old man. I wonder how she would feel. Just think about that, right? But she has to defend this, right? She has to defend her religion, so they have to come up with something.
So,
Yeah.
hold on. Let me address her, then we'll go to you. So on this whole issue, so yes, I agree that it doesn't set an age, but Ezekiel 16 says that the age for love making does not happen until after she has basically completed puberty. The breasts are fully formed, her hair is fully grown. She has to
Which
complete it.
translation is
Hold on,
asking?
let me finish. So that's the issue right there. But again, at the end of the day, we're talking about the effects of society. Christian societies are outlawing this. We don't see 9-year-olds getting married in America. We don't see it happening in Europe. This is bad. But you guys over here are saying, yes, it's perfectly fine to take a girl to...
We literally
And we
said-
should be okay with
we already
that.
said that we shouldn't do that because of these studies that we've shown you, and you're not responding to them
Yeah,
for some
it-
reason.
just
Can you have sex?
Nobody should be having intercourse with someone who's 9 years old because
So
that
then
would-
Muhammad was a sinner.
No, it doesn't
Insofar
follow.
as today-
Yes, it does.
It doesn't
No,
follow.
it doesn't.
You know why it doesn't follow? Because at that point, it didn't entail harm.
Yes, it did.
Okay, and I'm giving you a reason why it didn't.
Yes, it did.
Can you address that according to Peter Deagle?
At the time, so listen to this. I want y'all to listen to this. If you didn't catch this, at the time, Muhammad had sexual relationships with a 9-year-old, it didn't detail harm, right? At that time, it wasn't harmful for a grown man in his late 40s or 50s to have relationships with a 9-year-old. It wasn't harmful at that point. Maybe it is now, but it wasn't back then. It's what he's saying, and he's about to justify it.
What's the name of the paper?
Development.
Evolution, development, and the
yeah.
timing of puberty.
Exactly, beautiful. And he makes the conclusion in his graph that there was a point when menarche and pubescence were in correlation. That is no longer the case.
No, you're confusing the chart. The chart is age of menarche and social cycle development.
Exactly.
That's the point, though.
Were they matching at some point?
What was that? Yeah, they were.
Are they
Yeah.
matching? Are they matching today?
No, they're not. No, but that's not the
Beautiful.
point.
Thank
the
you.
point is that the green on the chart, what you're pulling up there, the green shows when age of menarche happened. And at that time, they're saying, well, the girls didn't need that much education at that time to develop. So they could be more implemented in society quicker. But now we have more education because it's better for them. Thank good for the West promoting more education. Amen to
And
that.
Islam.
So
And
that's
Islam,
so let's go on to that. So, but that's the problem. Age of menarche did not happen according to that paper at 9. There is no possible.
That's
Hold on,
irrelevant.
let me
That's
finish.
literally
Let me
a straw
finish.
man.
Let me finish.
Go ahead.
There's no possible way that Aisha could have reached puberty, could have had her first period at 9, according to the paper you cited, because that shows it had to happen after the age of 10, and that was at least 1% only.
Wait, hold on. So you agreed with me earlier when I first asked you in regards to somebody getting pregnant, they would have to have their period first, right?
Yes, and Aisha couldn't.
Okay, but I gave you an example. You said it's an impossibility. Is it logically impossible
Is it logically impossible for what?
for somebody to not have their period before 9 or at 9?
No, wait, hold on. What are you saying? This doesn't
You said
follow what I was
it's
saying.
impossible for her to have had her period by then, correct?
Biologically, yes.
Okay, and I gave you an example of today.
Today, yes.
Yeah, modern day, a girl who's at the age of 5 had her period and she was pregnant as well.
Yeah,
So it's
that-
not impossible.
So basically, what you're saying is there was this crazy genetic.
She's not the
fluke.
only- no, it's
Hold
not
on,
the
hold on.
only thing.
The
I'm giving you an
reason why that can
example
happen
by
today
name.
is because, according to the paper you cited,
Right.
nutrition has gotten better, and if nutrition gets better, that means the age of menarche starts to lower. But in the time of Muhammad, it wasn't. It was higher.
Really?
So yeah, that's
not
what
what
the
the
chart
study says, though. The study says more than that, though.
One second,
No,
one
it's
second,
what the
guys.
chart
I'm sorry, I'm
says.
sorry.
That's what the chart
Real quick,
says.
good.
Yeah, so Imam al-Shafi'i, okay, he's somebody who comes after Muhammad, peace be upon him. He speaks about the individuals of his time period,
Right.
as well as Aisha radiallahu anha, by the way, but this is afterwards. So Imam al-Shafi'i, rahimahullah, he speaks about the people that come after in his time period, okay, and he says that he has observed with his own eyes where an individual who was
I'm sorry, I gotta stop it. I've been going too long on these clips and I'm probably gonna get a copyright strike, but I wanna make a point. I'm looking at this lady as she's trying to defend Islam. She's trying to make a point that Islam produces a better society, and she's trying to defend the age of a child, and because of the situation they find themselves in, right? But I'm looking at her, and it's not to bash her as an individual, but it's to say, look how she's dressed, right? Look how every part of her face is covered up except her eyes, right? And Islam produces a better society. And she's covered up. Why? Because there's men in the room, and the men are going to look at you, and men can't be held accountable. According to Islam, they can't be held accountable. We're men, and we're just going to look. That's the fact. So women, you need to cover up. You need to cover up because they're going to look at you. So you make sure you're covered up. Where's the accountability, right? Where's the accountability on the man to say, hey, don't look at that woman. If you're married, you don't need to be looking at women. You don't need to be looking at women with lust, period, right? It's what Jesus says. If you look at a woman with lust, you've already committed adultery in the heart. But in Islam, that accountability is not there. It's men are men and men are going to look. So women, you need to cover up. How is that better for society? Answer me that. I got to skip ahead a little bit. I want to show you this last point.
Already established from the Islamic perspective that there is no such thing as having intimacy with a prepubescent.
You have not.
We have.
No,
we
you-
have. But
Did Muhammad consummate the marriage at 9?
That's not.
Did he consummate the marriage at 9?
Does 9 automatically necessitate a child?
Yes. Did he consummate the marriage at 9?
You still haven't proven that.
Yeah,
You haven't
there is
proven
no
that. You literally just said 15 to 17. Okay, fine.
I want you to hear did you hear what she said right there? Listen to what she says.
You have not.
We have.
No,
we
you-
have. But
Did Muhammad consummate the marriage at 9?
That's not.
Did he consummate the marriage at 9?
Does 9 automatically necessitate a child?
Yes. Did he consummate the marriage at 9?
You still haven't proven that.
Yeah,
You
there
haven't
is
proven
no-
that.
You can't make this stuff up. He literally asked the gentleman, did Muhammad consummate the marriage at 9? And then she comes out and says, does 9 necessarily mean that you're a child? Mike Jones says, yes. And she goes, no, it doesn't. And she laughs, no, it doesn't. And you haven't even proved it. Like, what are we talking about here? What are we talking about here? That's why I feel like this video is so important. Not my video too, please watch it, but this debate video, Brian DeVilla's channel, the way this video specifically is so important because people need to see this. People need to see this. She literally just said, does 9 years old mean that you're a child? And Mike says yes. And she says, no, it doesn't. And you haven't proved it. Now, in what world do we live in where we can possibly think that a 9-year-old is not a child? In what world? Right? Think about that. And where would you go in the world where men can look at 9-year-old girls and say, those aren't child, those are women, and they're ready to be married? You're not going to find that in the United States. You're not going to find that in Christian countries. You get what I'm saying? And it's crazy. It's crazy to me. And, they have to find a way to justify it. They have to find a way to justify it when your main prophet did this. You have to defend them. What else can you do? You cannot condemn it, right? As soon as you go and condemn it, your religion falls apart. Your religion falls apart. And this isn't a small character in Islam. This is Islam's biggest, most important prophet, they would say, right? They still consider Jesus as a prophet and he's their Messiah, but that's all he is in Islam. But they talk about Muhammad more than anything, right? And he's a standard of living for them, right? They say, peace be upon him after every time they say his name. So they have to justify it. They have to justify it.
They just said 15 to 17. Okay, fine. Is that the case globally?
Yes.
No, it's not.
Yes, it
I can literally
and I
bring
can
you
explain to you
PubMed
why.
papers
I can explain
right
to you
now.
why.
Hold on,
I can
hold on,
explain
hold on.
why. Very simple.
I wasn't done.
I can explain to you really why.
I'm
It's
not done.
quite simple. Hip development.
Okay.
Hip development.
Oh my God. Yeah, PubMed says that when it comes to puberty and when it comes to menarche, there's a paper. I could cite it for you if you want. I could
about
bring it for you
menarche
right
at
now.
this point.
Okay. It literally says that pubescence can be achieved at different points, and it's achieved via different social standards. When it comes to geographic, when it comes to economic, these are all different
Does it say
factors
it's
that come into
completed?
place. It literally talks about
Being completed.
individuals going through puberty.
Being completed.
Yeah, so it goes from the age of 11 all the way up until
Being
the age of
completed.
17 to 18. It's
Being
completely different.
anything
what you're
show
saying.
hip development is complete at age 11.
Yeah, so it's talking
No,
about puberty.
there are none. It is biologically impossible for the hips of a girl to not be complete
Yeah, we
until the
can,
age
we can
of
allow,
15 to
you
17.
can make that up, and then we want to move on to the other facts as well, because if you just hone on one thing, then we're not going to be
But
able
I just want to know,
There's-
did
there's-
Muhammad
there's- there's-
consummate the marriage with a 9-year-old?
No.
He did not.
Look, what I'm saying,
She
what I'm
wasn't
saying here,
nine,
what I'm
yes or no?
saying-
You
what
don't
I'm
say no to that.
Just say yes or no and expound.
What I'm saying here is that she was not a child at the time of marriage. She's not a child at the time of consummation. In fact, even in the traditional account, there's a
She
waiting
was 9.
period. Now, this comes to the
A
other angle I was
9-year-old
trying to get to.
is not a child.
Is why do marriages take
what
place
he's
in the
saying.
first place? Marriages take place not just for intimacy. They take place, especially for a leader, they take place to establish alliances. And this, in a way, goes back to the issue of polygamy.
Who was Aisha's father?
Abu Bakr.
Oh, he did establish an alliance with him?
You don't understand how the Eastern culture is. Eastern culture is when you want to bring people together for various political or social reasons, you do so through the vehicle of marriage.
That doesn't change anything I'm saying, though.
No,
a
well,
9-year-old
no,
is
no,
always
hold
a
on, hold on.
child.
Hold on.
Always a child. What Muhammad did was evil. He's not a good moral example. He should be thrown out because he's actually causing all sorts of
What
harm.
about Yahweh?
We see this happening in Iraq. We see
Yahweh,
this happening in
Moses.
Sudan, in Yemen, where they think it's okay to start sleeping with children.
I guess Moses
Unfortunately,
says
you're
the
just
same
appealing
thing,
to the
though.
emotions. That's it. That's all you're doing. You're appealing.
I can cite studies. You want some studies?
You're appealing to the emotions.
So you think it's okay to... I just want to be clear.
No, nobody said on the panel.
No one said that.
I don't know. Wait, one second, real quick. I don't know why you keep going back to that same question we already answered like a few times.
Because you didn't answer.
No, we already
She
said
quite
no.
literally said no.
Nobody today should be married.
I'm not talking about today. I'm talking about Muhammad.
Let me finish.
I'm talking about Muhammad. Did Muhammad do something immoral?
No, we don't believe that.
Okay,
No,
so
let me-
sleeping,
let me-
having is not immoral.
Hey, brother,
presence
this
is a fallacy.
is exactly what you're doing. You're saying that, hey, it was, it's immoral today, therefore must have been immoral back then. But you would even agree, Mr. IP, that there's things that we can derive through reason, and over time we can trial and test. For example, according to you in Deuteronomy 22, 28 to 29, Yahweh it says that if somebody grapes a child, they can marry that child, right?
No, it doesn't. No, it does not. That is a lie.
Let me land.
That is a lie. That's not what the word,
Can
not what tapas means.
One
No.
second. Now,
But that- it is
real
what
quick.
Paidan No, it isn't.
Now,
It is
you
what
would say
Paidan means.
you would say that, hey, that at that specific time point would be moral. But
No.
because, let me land.
No.
But because of how society operates today, because of what we know as Islam as urf, or aka accustoming to the natural custom of society.
I gotta stop it right here. This video's already 30 minutes long, probably over. But I mean, it's crazy to listen to. If you made it to the end of this video, or if you've seen the original video, I mean, how crazy is that, right? And then towards the end, I don't know if you heard, they said, what about Yahweh? What about Moses, right? They're trying to point fingers. What about your religion, right? And think about this, right? First of all, they're wrong in what they're saying. I might do a part 2 just to kind of show the rest of the debate, but think about what they're saying. If they say, well, what about, your religion? But isn't Islam the final revelation, right? So you got the Torah, you got the Jews first, then you got the Christians, and then now you got the Muslims, which they have the final revelation. So that means all the books before then should line up with you. So you shouldn't be able to point at Christianity anyways and say, hey, you're wrong, right? You shouldn't be able to do that if everything should line up with your religion, but it doesn't. It doesn't. It's contrary to our religion. It contradicts the Bible, right? Islam. But the fact that they're defending this, it's crazy and it blows my mind. And I noticed a few things. I noticed like the other gentlemen, they're not talking as much, but I noticed that when Mike would bring up statistics and different facts from different scholars, or they would make a point and he would say, you're wrong on that point, they would pull up their phones. And I feel like they're pulling up their phones to try to to try to find something to prove them wrong, and they never say anything. And I'm wondering if they're pulling up their phones to prove them wrong, and they realize, well, you know, he's right on this, so they put the phone back in their pocket. I don't know, but I think it's just crazy. I don't understand it. Like, I don't understand how you could be that brainwashed where you just have to justify that 9 years old is not a child, right? You know, and they clearly keep saying, I'm not saying you can have these relations with a child. What I'm trying to say is that 9 years old was not a child. You know, if a girl can reach puberty, then she's a woman, is what they're saying, right? Not if puberty is completed, if she reaches that point, or if she's able to give birth, or whatever, all the numerous reasons that they try to give to justify it. And, you know, Mike, he was frustrated a lot through this conversation, which it's frustrating, man. I mean, you would never hear people talk like this out in public. You would never hear people talk like this out in public, right? It would just sound so crazy to everyone. So I wanted to share this video. You know, a lot of people say we worship the same God, and, you know, it's all a path to the same God, but no, it's not. And you can obviously see that in this video, that it's not. It's so far from the God that we serve. It really is. And I hope that people see that, you know, and this is not to hate these people, right? Like I always say in every video, we need to pray for these people, right? We need to pray for Muslims, you know, as well as people in any other religion. We need to pray for them. We seriously do. And, you know, these people, they seem smart and knowledgeable, right? And they do know some things, but that knowledge is only going to get you so far. At the end of the day, it's about truth. And we already know that Jesus is the truth. And what Jesus taught is truth, right? So if they don't have that, and they don't have Jesus, right? Jesus, him being divine and Jesus being God, if they don't have that, then they don't have truth. But I want to know what you guys thought about the video. Please get in the comments down below. Let me know. And if there's any Muslims watching, please get in the comments. Let me know what you thought about the video. Let me know what you think about how they justify this, what you think about the age of a child and all that. I mean, I just don't see how you can justify it, right? But either way, if you made it this far, I appreciate you watching the video. Like the video if you enjoyed the content. If you're not a subscriber, please consider subscribing. I'm a new channel, and I hope you'll join me on this journey. Pray for me. I'll be praying for y'all. I love y'all. I'm out.